This is the uConnect 5 infotainment system that you're going to find inside of the Jeep Grand Cherokee. There are technically 3 different options that are available. There's an 8.4 inch without factory navigation, an 8.4 inch with factory navigation, and then this 10.1 inch that also does feature factory navigation. They work virtually identically though, it's just going to be slightly different size in some of the lower trim levels of the Grand Cherokee. But I'm going to talk you through all the different buttons and what everything means. So first thing we're going to cover off along the top left-hand side, you can see there pushing for the the driver's side climate. So you can adjust it by going up and down this way if you want to. So just kind of do a drag and drop. You can also go up and down that way if you wanted to adjust it that way instead. You could push sync in order to change the passenger side to whatever the driver's side's set to. And then on top of that, you've got your heated seats, ventilated seats as an option there too. So really a matter of preference how you adjust it. I personally find that these sliders, they're nice and responsive, but I tend to go just kind of like old school up and down this way instead. I love the heated ventilated first row seats, and then you also got the heated steering wheel button there as well. But all of those features aren't standard, so that's going to be trim level specific. Along the top there, you've also got your profiles. So you've got 2 individual profiles that are going to be there as a default. You can add in a new one, but there are a ton of different things that you can link into your profile. So you can customize things. So all of your favorite destinations are the big ones. If you have your phones connected to the vehicle, your media presets, so like AM, FM, SiriusXM, whatever the case may be. So all of your presets are linked to your individual profile. All you have to do is add new. You just type in your name, hit next, and then you can have an individual profile there if you want to, different colored options, different sport options, whatever the case may be. Select, save. There you go. Do you want to apply the current preferences to your profile? I'm going to say yes. That essentially copies everything from user 1 to user Steve instead. There we go. Welcome, Steve. So it has my profile officially set up right now. It's just loading everything in, and then along the very top, so you can see there the 3 individual profiles that have been set up. I can also set one of the seat memories if I want to instead. I can edit profile, so I can edit out seat memory option. Which one is it going to be for me? Welcome pop-ups. Do I want to delete? What things are linked to my profile? And then additional settings. So this is really useful if you've got multiple people driving the vehicle, because you can set so many different options all tied to your individual profile. But obviously if you're the only one driving, not a big deal. You've also got the flexibility of easily deleting a profile if you wanted to instead. So it's that easy, being able to set the profile up. Get started. From there, you've also got a little notification bar. So if you have available notifications for updates, whatever the case may be, if you were connected over Wi-Fi, that would also show up as an available option. You can set your vehicle up with a wireless hotspot. So that does require a data-only plan through some cell phone providers in order to get it. Rather than running through your cell phone's data, you'd have a unique plan instead. That's a matter of preference, but you can see your outside temperature, current clock, which, I mean, when you pull down, that's kind of neat. So you can push there in order to drop down to a few different options. So things like your surround camera. So if you wanted to show your 360 camera there, like that. Beautiful. So you've got your back view, back wide view, front view, or wide view, front view. And then you've also got the backup cam down or forward cam down there instead. Kind of neat. From there, back out. You can see outside temperature, profiles, notifications, passenger voice, and a few other things. You can also adjust your date and time there. So do you want to adjust your clock settings? Yes. Jumps us into clock. And some of these things you can see are grayed out. And that's because you're in an auto mode instead. So sync with GPS versus setting manually. So when you deselect sync with GPS, it's going to let you set up your date and time, whatever the case may be, manually instead. Button press there again, and that brings us to a few other options. So setting up Alexa, device manager. You've also got the little microphone. So if you wanted to be able to change songs, radio stations, navigate using your voice, you can push this little button along the very top. It's kind of a pain in order to get to. So what I normally just recommend, voice command prompt along the steering wheel in order to do that. But there are tons of different things that you can do, which I'll cover off in a second. And then you've also got the passenger side adjuster, also for the heated and ventilated seat as well for that passenger side. Back home, series of other options that are available there. So you've got your factory navigation as well as media, And then you've got this little My Pages button along the very bottom. So you can push My Pages in order to add a page, delete, or reorder. So let's say if you wanted to customize the layout a little bit, you could. Let's say if you wanted to have a little 4-screen layout with individual widgets, you can customize it. Like, what do you want showing up? Let's say you want now playing in one. You're going to want to have your suspension information in another. Maybe your vehicle's pitch and roll in another one. And then your last little widget, maybe you wanted to have your available climate settings. So you can customize this a little bit in order to be able, oh, that's weird, just a random blank page. So we're going to go and delete current page. And then we've only got those 2 pages that have been set up now. So it's kind of neat that you've got the flexibility to be able to adjust this out and customize the screen. And that's all done through the little My Pages button. So you can reorder them if you want to, delete the current page, or add more pages in. Next up is going to be media. So sources, you've got a boatload of different options. So FM, AM, SiriusXM, you've got Bluetooth, USB, you've got Alexa, aux cables. You can hook your phone up over Bluetooth if you wanted to. You can hook up through Android Auto or Apple CarPlay and stream audio that way. I'll cover that one off in just a second, but tons of different options that are available. And you can see there your different preset pages. You can press all presets there as well. If you wanted to be able to save a preset, it's super straightforward. So all you're going to do is just tune to whatever station you want to. Let's go sources, FM. I guess I could just do this over voice if I wanted, but let's go. Nice local station, 94.9. Perfect. So I've got that station that I've tuned to, and now if I want to save it, let's see. If I wanted to save it as number 1, just do a press and hold in order to be able to save that station in. So it's really straightforward to be able to set up your presets. You can jump into SiriusXM, just like a little hot button press there if you want. If your phone is connected to Bluetooth audio, that would also show up there as an option too. USB is the same idea. If you go back into, let's say, FM, browse, that's all of your available stations based off of your geographic area. So if you've just moved somewhere and not really sure what you can listen to, you can tune in there if you want. You can look at all of your saved presets. And if you saved a station and you don't like the station that you've saved, you can just hit delete in order to remove it. It's that simple to do it. Series of different audio settings that are available too. So your balance and fade, so if you're the only one in the vehicle, or if you want it more centered out instead. Equalizer. So this, not necessarily the greatest. I usually find something like this, like the bass up like 4 or 5-ish points, mid-range centered out, treble usually -3. I tend to find gives really good audio in the cars that I review. Speed adjusted volume. So as you go faster or slower, it's automatically going to increase or decrease your volume for you. Surround, you want that more like immersive audio experience. Do you want things to auto play? So USB specifically when you go to plug them in. Auto on radio. So that's useful. So you turn your vehicle off, turn it back on again. Do you want it to tune to the last station automatically? Yay, nay. Do you want the radio to remain on until the passenger door is opened? Yay, nay. Volume adjustment, you can adjust each individual volume. So if you wanted your navigation volume to have a little bit more of a priority, you could do that. Your media volume, if you wanted it high, low, whatever the case may be. You can also adjust your media volume just using the volume rocker there too. Rear seat, you also have some options adjusting there. All right, so screen, you can lock out the screens if you want to, toggle them on, off. So these ones here, that's the rear seat entertainment. So this specific one has the dual entertainment headrests, and then you could also lock it out. You could adjust what's going on with the audio there. You can select different sources. So if you wanted to have Fire TV, HDMI, USB, if you wanted to duplicate based off of the other screen as well, you've got that flexibility, which is kind of cool. So if you wanted, let's say, 2 kids to watch the same thing, you'd have the flexibility to be able to do it. If you jump back into sources, SiriusXM, there are a few things about Sirius specifically. So you've got this little guy along the very top, and this one is going to be for a few things. So you've got your SiriusXM favorites, listening history, listener settings. So if you wanted to do things like block explicit content, tune to start when you turn the vehicle on, reset your history, you've got the flexibility to do it. You've got your SiriusXM system settings too, but the other one, notifications. So this one here, if the artist or the song comes on that you like on any station, it's going to let you know. So it's just a notification that'll pop up saying, hey, Janet Jackson's playing, or the Pleasure Principle song is playing instead on any station. and then you can auto tune to that station if you want to. Kind of neat. But that's the basics. Like, it's nothing too crazy complicated. The big one, like I said, looking at presets, which I like that you've got the flexibility to easily delete, or you can easily override any of the available presets there if you want to. Looking at all of your available presets too. Like, there are a ton of options. You can add in a boatload of different presets, up to 36 individual presets too, which it's kind of ridiculous. But I mean, at the same time, if you're an audiophile, you love listening to audio, just go max instead and just be able to cycle through your presets there. Now, one thing to point out, in behind the steering wheel, there are a few buttons too. So the button on the left-hand side, that's going to let you jump between your different presets. So you're essentially seeking that way instead. You can also jump between your different presets that way. So there's a button in the very middle. And then you can also go plus or minus along the right side, and that's going to let you adjust your volume. Or you can also jump between your different sources. So I love that Jeep vehicles have the flexibility to be able to do that. And then you can also push the voice command prompt on the steering wheel if you wanted to be able to do things like change media. So if you wanted to listen to certain music, you wanted to go AM, FM, SiriusXM, whatever the case may be, you'd have the flexibility to do it. There are some additional comfort settings as well. So you can see there, you've got additional sliders. So you can go up, down, hot, cold, sync out the passenger to the driver's side, turn on your heated seats, ventilated first row seats, or the heated steering wheel. Do you want your climate going to your windshield, face, feet, some sort of Frankenstein combination of all of the above? You can adjust it that way instead. Max AC, windshield defrosters, whatever the case may be. And you can also adjust the fan speed that way instead. This specific Grand Cherokee also does have the massage chair seats. So you can go high rolling if you want to. So you can turn them on there. You go low, medium, or high rolling, which is really nice. Extended if you want different types of massages, like a rock climb instead. Oh yeah, that's going to be nice. Oh yeah, that's really nice. So you've got that for the driver passenger side in the first row. Now, it's not standard across the board, but it is really nice that you've got that massage chair seat capability available. Rear seats. Rear climate is currently off, so you can turn it on there instead. And then rear climate, do you want to lock it so that people in the back can't fight over what the climate is? And then it's quad zone. So you can have the driver passenger side in the second row set up to something unique instead as well. You can sync it to whatever the driver's side is. And then, like I said, you can lock out the rear so that people in the back can't use it. Or you can turn the rear climate off as well. Really neat. You've got the climate settings right through the screen, and then even just down the center stack, there are some more available options too, like heated seats, ventilated seats. It's kind of neat that it's available in a few different spots. Next up is factory navigation. So factory nav is available inside of uConnect 5. So I mentioned you can get it, it's going to be standard in this 10.1 inch, and then it's optional inside of the 8.4 inch, so the lower one. But it's going to be a matter of preference whether or not you use the factory nav. You could still hook up through Android or iPhone devices to use Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze if you wanted to instead. But it's nice and responsive. You've got pinch to zoom capabilities. Searching for addresses is very straightforward. You could search whole map if you wanted to, look at parking, if you wanted to look for food, so different point of interest icons. You can see what places you've gone to previously. So let's go to a Tim Hortons. You can use it as a starting point. So let's say if you know how to get to that Tim Hortons, but from the Tim Hortons, you wanted to go on a longer extended drive, you can use that as a starting point and then use an end destination instead to get to wherever you want to go after that point too. It's kind of neat. You can push this little button in order to show or hide that, or you just hit drive. There we go. And you've got two different ways that you can get there. Once you've figured out the destination that you want, you're just going to hit drive the way that you want to go. And there we go. Straightforward. You can look at options along the side for route overview, find alternative, turn-by-turn directions. Did you want to avoid certain things on the route? Change the route, report a speed trap, which is kind of nice.
You
it's
will
like
arrive at your destination at 12:30 p.m.
Oh, I thank you. You can show certain things as well. So do you want to show traffic flow, sidebar information, vehicle total range? So sidebar, do you want to have different things visible, yay, nay, and then point of interest icons? Do you want them showing on the map as you drive? Map views, auto map zoom. So as you get closer to your end destination, it's going to automatically zoom in. Do you want 2D, 3D, or a 2D north up view instead? On your route, Do you want the fastest route, the shortest route, or the most eco-friendly route? Do you want to avoid certain things like toll roads? Do you want to avoid unpaved roads, highways, tunnels? Lots of different options available there. Do you want it to automatically reroute for you? Do you want to manually reroute, or do you want the reroute option just not to happen? From there, sounds and alerts. Do you want your destinations to be read out loud? Yay, nay, for all of these things. So as you're coming up to different streets, do you want it to read out and let you know? Do you want to have early instructions, or as you come up to the turn? Cameras available as well. Do you want your safety warnings? Nothing crazy there. And then alert types. So as you come up to a turn, a road, whatever the case may be, do you want to have a visual alert, sound and verbal, strictly visual and sound, or strictly a visual? So you'll just get a notification on the screen if you're in visual, letting you know of an upcoming turn, or do you want the vehicle to let you know that the upcoming turn's happening? So you've got some different options there, and then some more advanced ones, which is just really privacy and then about information. So it's very straightforward. And then back to the navigation, you can see there all of your different headings. So you can change it just right on the screen instead. Do you want to have alerts only? Do you want it muted out? Or do you want to have all available alerts? Let's close that off, but I like it. Nice and simple. Recenter and route. You can resume and route. And it's that simple using factory nav. The only other thing to point out with factory nav is that you can search by GPS coordinates too. So if you wanted to search by latitude, longitude, you've got the flexibility to be able to do it. You can also save in addresses. So you save in your home or work address, and then one of the benefits there, if you push the voice command prompt on the steering wheel, you can say navigate home, or let's go home, let's go to work, whatever the case may be.
Canceled.
And then it's going to navigate you to whatever addresses you have set up there. It's really straightforward though. I like the factory nav inside of uConnect 5. It's definitely a step above the old uConnect. Nice and responsive, I like it. Next up is adding in a phone. So as of right now, there is a single phone connected, and that one's not mine. So let's go through and show you here. You can delete the device very simply. And the device, did I delete that? Oh no, I accidentally pressed the wrong button. Let's delete that device, and no device is currently connected. So let's start off on the iPhone side of things, and let's start by adding in a phone. So in your phone there, you're gonna go Bluetooth, make sure you're there, and you're gonna go add device. And we're searching for uConnect. Showed up. Pins match up. So let's pair. Allow contacts and favorites to sync. I'm going to say don't allow. Obviously, if it's your car, you would say allow there. Perfect. And do I want to use CarPlay with the phone as well? So that's one nice thing. You don't have to use CarPlay if you don't want to. You can just hook up over Bluetooth to stream audio that way. If you wanted to listen to songs instead, if you wanted to make phone calls and things like that, you can do that without hooking up to CarPlay. But one of the nice things about uConnect 5 is that it is wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So let's go through and let's set it up. So we're going to go use CarPlay, follow instructions on your device. So it should be connecting now. Yeah, it's trying to connect, connected, and boom, look at that. Beautiful. Nice and responsive along the side there. This is really nice. I like the colors, like the color scheme, it just pops really nicely here. You've got your current time, your connection level, battery level, which map was open last, which music application was opened, and which miscellaneous application was opened. From there, you can also go home or back to the icon view instead, which you can also just kind of move across in order to get to it. But this is your map, obviously. You've got what navigation options are available, your audio, and then just miscellaneous there. So this is kind of neat because depending on the map application you've opened up, that's going to adjust what's there. You can search for previous destinations in Apple Maps, find destinations. You've got your different headings that are available, so 2D, 3D, etc. No pinch to zoom, unfortunately. That's the one thing I don't like. No pinch to zoom available options there, but you can easily adjust out. Oh, can't even do a drag and drop there. That's super disappointing there. All right, and then once you're done, you're done. Back. I think Google Maps is pretty much the same way here. So Google Maps, you can at least move around with your finger, which is good. But if you wanted to zoom in and out, you'd have to go this way instead because there's no pinch to zoom capabilities. You can search for destinations, previous destinations, or you can look at route options. So if you wanted to avoid highways, toll roads, and ferries, if you wanted to change out map colors, traffic, if you wanted to show that, yay or nay, it's kind of neat that it's available. And then Waze is the exact same thing. So there's no pinch to zoom capabilities, but there's drag and drop. You could push there if you wanted to report different things as well. And then all sorts of different applications available for media. So if you wanted to listen to your podcast, you'd have the flexibility to be able to do it. You've got different options available there. So Hoopla is a library app. Live One is a radio app. So there are a ton of different apps that are available. One thing though is that you don't have the flexibility of being able to watch video on the screen. So regardless of the app that you're connected to, this thing doesn't have support for that type of playback yet. Like, fingers crossed, hopefully it's coming soon, but as of right now, no video playback. It's still as straightforward. You can push this little CarPlay button there as well if you wanted to launch back into your phone, or go to the device manager, which we'll go into in just a second. Because first, on your phone, you could go to your settings. If you go to General, CarPlay, find your vehicle, and then you'd have the flexibility of being able to either forget it, delete it, and then you can customize as well. So let's say if you're not a fan, you don't care about having Zoom on there, you don't want to have YouTube Music on there or WhatsApp, you can delete it. So it removes them fully from the screen. But then you'd also have the flexibility of being able to do a drag and drop in order to be able to adjust this thing out a little bit more. So if you wanted to listen to your podcast and a few other things, you'd have that flexibility to be able to do it. If you don't like what you've done too much, you're like, what have I done? You can push reset along the very top of your phone there in order to reset this thing back to the factory default layout screen instead. So I know that's quite a lot of info, but that's how you set up Apple CarPlay. The only other thing to point out is that on the steering wheel, if you do a longer press and hold of the voice command prompt button, that's also going to launch into your Siri assistant. Pushing this button, launch uConnect phone, or go back to the device manager. So you can see there I'm currently hooked up through Apple CarPlay. If you wanted to disconnect, all you're going to do is just tap. Do you want to end your CarPlay session? Yes. And then it's connected back to the phone for Bluetooth for both phone calls and for audio. So I know that's quite a little bit of info, but that's how you set up an iPhone inside of uConnect 5. Setting up an Android is the exact same process as the iPhone. So if you weren't on this screen, let's say if you were back on the home screen, all you're going to do is go into phone there, device manager, and that brings you into this subscreen instead. Again, all we're going to do, just add device. On your phone, you're looking for that uConnect. Perfect. Let's pair. Yes. Okay. Do you want to use Android Auto? So it's that simple. I'm going to say deny for messages and contacts. Again, if this is your car, you would say yes if you wanted to. And then hit OK. And then a few seconds in, so fully connected there. It's connecting now to Android Auto. So it'll just take a second to connect through, and here we go. So do I want to connect through Android Auto? Yes. Boom. Just like that. Fully connected there. You can see you've got maps, so it's a little split view instead. So kind of similar, but not from the Apple CarPlay side of things. So you've got an interesting little display. You can go to this little icon view there instead if you want to. Back to the little split view. You've got your Google Assistant there too, so you can button press to bring that up, or you can do a long hold on the steering wheel button instead if you wanted to activate your Google Assistant that way. You've got your map, which you can go full screen there instead if you want, which is kind of cool. So you go full screen. I like that. You could also push there in order to get to different things. So showing traffic, route options. Do you want to avoid toll roads, ferries, and things like that? Back to your basic settings. Search for addresses that way. But one thing I like about the Android Auto side of things is that this pinch to zoom capabilities instead, back to a recenter, which I like that. You can go back to your little split screen. You've got a few different things, some map applications, your phone, a few other things available there too. Your current time, connection status, connection priorities, and things like that. Or back to this little icon view. So this screen does have the flexibility for Androids of being able to support both Google Maps and Waze. For some people, Waze may not be working properly. So if that's the case for your Android phone, I've put together a little walkthrough video. You can find that down in the description of this video, showing you how to actually set up and use Waze inside of Android devices. Very straightforward to do. But if you push this button, like same idea, you can go back and launch uConnect phone or your device manager. Or on your phone, if you search for Android Auto, it's going to pull up Android Auto settings. So you're just going to go Android Auto, and you've got a few different options there. So you can customize the launcher. You can turn off Android Auto when the phone's locked. You can also do a few other things. So the big one here, though, is going to be customized launcher. So you'd have the flexibility of being able to do a drag and drop in order to be able to adjust it. But one thing is that you have to shut down Android Auto, so hop out of it and launch back in for Android Auto setting changes to take into effect. So it's not dynamic the same way that the iPhone side of things was, but it is available there as an option. And then your hidden apps are all the different apps that you've essentially deselected. So you could push in order to bring them back, and then just do a drag and drop in order to customize it. But like I said, shut down Android Auto, relaunch for those changes to take into effect. But you can go back into Device Manager if you wanted to, push back in order to get to Android Auto, back to Device Manager. And this is one neat thing. So you could be connected to either Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, but you've also had the flexibility of being able to connect to either one of these four. So you can have one phone connected for your phone, one phone connected for your audio. So it's really useful if you've got multiple phones with different functionality for yourself. If you wanted to, you can push there in order to make a phone the favorite. You can enable phone, charge only mode, or you can delete the device. So let's delete the iPhone, which means that the Galaxy is the only one connected. Same idea if you want to delete, you move, delete device, and yes. And the phones are disconnected, and it's that easy setting up Android and iPhone devices inside of the uConnect infotainment system. So that's the basics of setting up a phone. Next up, we've got some vehicle settings. So there are a ton of different options here. I'm going to start off by launching off-road pages, which gives you a ton of options. So you can see what your current steering angle is as you go to rotate the wheel, whether or not your transfer case or your rear axle are locked out. Accessory gauges, so you can see everything right through the screen. You can see it through the cluster as well, but it's kind of neat that you can have it set up this way. You can see your vehicle's pitch and roll, so if your vehicle is tilted forwards or backwards, and then if you're tilted left or right. So very useful if you're going off-road. You can also see your GPS coordinates. So if you're going off-road and you get stuck, you get lost, whatever the case may be, your GPS coordinates are right there. You've got different terrain modes available too. So as of right now, the vehicle is in the auto mode, but you've got snow mode, you've got sand and mud mode. There's also rock mode, and they're going to play with your vehicle dynamics, but there are a ton of different options that are available here. I honestly, for most people, would just recommend keeping yourself in either the auto mode or ideally the sport mode, because it's going to play with your shifting points and it just gives it a more aggressive drive. Different options for suspension. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so it's lowering the vehicle right now as well, just because I changed it out to sport. So it's going to try to drop the vehicle. But you've got a ton of different options. You can see there, it's currently lowering. It'll take a second. But you can see which wheel is getting which amount of power there too. And then also shoot out in order to see the forward-facing camera. You can press there in order to clean the camera too. You've got your backup camera. And you can zoom down if you wanted to. So very useful if you're going to be hooking the vehicle up for trailer towing purposes. I like that. Honestly, I love the off-road pages. It gives you a lot of good flexibility inside of your vehicle. Next up, there are a series of different controls. So this thing does have an auto-dimming rear view mirror, but you could turn the auto-dimming function off if you wanted to. There's a passenger side screen, which you can turn on or off there. You could also turn the screen on or off. You can deny the passenger screen permission, so the passenger screen would do nothing at that point. You can switch it out to a surround, so a full 360 camera instead, see what's going on around you. Backup view, backup wide view, front wide, front clean, and then you've also got different backup views there instead. And then you've also got your rear camera down to settings, which gives you a ton of other options. So there's a lot here, but the basics, let's start off with display. So you can change out your language if you want to. So either Spanish, English, Italian, or French. Nice few options there. Display mode. So because you see here, some things are grayed out. If they're grayed out, it's because you're in an auto mode instead. So if you go manual mode, you can also adjust out. So adjust out for daytime, nighttime, brightness, whatever the case may be. Or like I said, just keep yourself in auto mode. That's probably going to be good for most people. Your theme mode. So as of right now, it's in auto and it's pretty bright outside. So it's technically in the light mode, but you can have it so that it's permanently in the light mode, the dark mode. Yeah, look at that. Dark mode looks kind of nice. Hold on. There we go. Press the run button there. But you can see, lock it out in the light mode, lock it out in the dark mode. It just takes a second to be able to update. I personally am a bigger fan. Oh, interesting. It always defaults to the clock. Weird, huh? I personally prefer the auto mode because it's going to switch you. Like, I really like that dark mode, but the auto mode means it's going to flip you between either the light or the dark mode automatically, just depending on how bright it is outside. Units, if you wanted to change out the speed to miles or kilometers per hour. Distance, miles, kilometers. How do you want your tire pressure measured? Let's go PSI, your temperature, and then your current consumption level. So miles per gallon, liters per 100, whatever the case may be. See, touchscreen beep. Do you want to beep, yay or nay? Let's see, anything else? Nothing overly exciting there. Passenger screen, also nothing exciting. Profiles. So you've got the flexibility I mentioned earlier of setting up a unique profile. Oh, I saw it there. But if you're back in your My Profile, it's for your individual profile. What language do you want to have set up? Which display option do you want to have? Which time format do you want to be in? Radio delays, like everything. You can set up a boatload of different options for your unique profile. So like I said, if you've got multiple people driving the vehicle, this is very useful because you can make this more of like your own, which I love. And then as other people come into the vehicle, they can select their own unique profile instead. So there's no worry about you accidentally listening to Miley Cyrus. Safety and driving assistance. There's a lot of different safety settings here. Collision warning. So if the vehicle recognizes a potential collision from the front end, it can either do nothing, it'll give you a warning, or it'll actively brake for you to try to either reduce the impact of a collision or avoid the collision completely. And then from there, how sensitive do you want it to be? And then pedestrian braking. So if it recognizes a pedestrian that you didn't see, it can warn and actively brake there as well. So that's a good safety setting, I think, to keep turned on. Active driving assistant. If you start to veer over without signaling, a little bit of a steering wheel shake to let you know. Lane management gives you a few options there. So as you start to veer over into another lane without signaling, do you want to get a vibration? Steering assist means it'll nudge you back into your lane, or the vibration in the assist means that it'll do both. And then what's the intensity of the vibration? So if you're getting this like weird vibration in your steering wheel, and it's because you're riding too close to the lane, or you're changing lanes without signaling. So you could toggle that off if you wanted to. From there, traffic sign assist, nothing crazy there. Night vision warnings, kind of useful if you're traveling later on at night. For your park sensing, do you want to get a warning or the beeping that you get as you back up? And then what's the intensity of that volume as well? So, I mean, let's say if we shift into reverse right now. So you can see there, getting that warning. And then do you want it low, or do you just want nothing to happen whatsoever there? Blind spot. So if somebody's entered the blind spot on either side of your vehicle, do you want nothing to happen? Do you want the lights to come on, or do you want lights and chime? And that's lights right through the side mirrors there. Really useful, so you can kind of just do a quick glance and see what's going on beside you. Hill start assist, tire fill assist, nothing big there. And then GPS controls for your clock. So I mentioned there, ideally you're going to stick with that. But I know some people have mentioned if you're on like straddling a time zone, it might constantly flip between different options. So at that point, you're just going to disable automatic, set your time and date, whatever the case may be. And then show time and date whenever the screen is turned off. I think that looks kind of nice. But that one's a matter of preference, because if you have nothing, this is a blank naked screen instead. Phone Bluetooth, device manager, which we've already seen. Do not disturb, two-way phone, so two active phones. So if you've got multiple people with multiple phones, you can have two phones running simultaneously there. Voice options, so in your voice command prompt, so you can see there. And then whenever, so you can see it's a female voice. Do you want female versus male voice? And then rather than pressing the voice command prompt, do you want to be able to say something like this? Or, yeah, that's fine. Hey, uConnect. So you can see there, it activates the assistant there for you instead. So there's a lot of things that you can do with the assistant, like the command list here shows you, so it doesn't actually show you there. So you actually have to push the voice command prompt in order, but this is the command list. So it tells you everything that you're able to do inside of it. There's a lot. So that you can adjust everything, the climate if you wanted to, your radio, media, text, whatever the case may be.
Canceled.
There's a lot of stuff that you can do. So I definitely recommend when you first get your Jeep, go through here, play with it a little bit, because there's a lot of options available. Navigation options, we saw those. Do you want to show certain things, routing options, whatever the case may be. Different options for your camera. See, the guidelines there are a useful one. So when you're in reverse, those are your guidelines. Yeah, I get it. So whether or not those guidelines show up, going to be a matter of preference. I personally think that that's a useful one. The forward guidelines too, also useful if you're pulling into a tighter spot. Mirrors and wipers. Do you want to tilt your mirrors when you're in reverse? So if you're in reverse, it's automatically going to tilt your mirrors down so you can see what's going on beside you. And then auto folding side view, when you go to lock your vehicle, do the mirrors automatically fold in? Rain sensing wipers, yay, nay. Headlight with your wipers, also Ambient color. So there are different color options that are available inside the vehicle. You can select which different color choices you want and which part of the vehicle, which is kind of neat. So the colors aren't all over the place, but you're looking at footwells. You're also looking right through the dash screen as well. Headlight delay. When you go to lock the vehicle, do the lamps just turn off, or do they stay on for 30, 60, or 90 seconds instead? And then when you go to approach the vehicle, how long do those lamps stay on as well? And obviously you have to make sure you have your key fob on you there. The auto dimming high beams are useful because if you're driving later on at night, it's going to automatically flip your high beams on for you. And then if things get, like if there's a car oncoming, it's going to automatically dim them before turning them back on again. Cornering lights, if your vehicle is equipped with it, as you go to turn your wheel left, right, whatever the case may be, the lights are going to follow. Really useful. It's just following left and right. It's not following up and down. Brake lights, yeah, nothing crazy there. Doors and locks. Do you want to automatically unlock the vehicle door? Do you want to have your lights flash when you go to lock? Do you want to sound your horn when you go to lock the vehicle? So on your key fob, you press the lock button once, the horn will go, twice, or do you never want the horn to go? Passive entry. If you've got your key fob on you, do you want to be able to get into the vehicle using intelligent access? So you just grab the door handle and pull in order to open up. Hands-free power liftgate. Do you want to enable or disable? So that's one where you just do a foot swipe underneath in order to be able to open the liftgate up. I find that one useful, but that's a matter of preference. Easy exit seats. If you've got power seats inside of your Grand Cherokee, when you go to turn the vehicle off, it's going to lower your seat and back it up for you to be able to get in and out a little bit easier. Do you want to have the vehicle to determine the comfort as well? So when you go to remote start or all start, does the vehicle determine what the best comfort level is for the vehicle? Key off options. So some of these things, you can see they're also multiplied a few different spots, but you've got key off options, exit easy seats, yay, nay, radio delay off. Like when you go to turn the vehicle off, how long does the radio stay on for? Do you want the radio to turn off when you go to open up the door, yay, nay? And then do you want to be able to control your windows using the key fob, which is kind of nice. So let's actually hop outside and I'll show you how that process works. In order to do it, you press the unlock button twice, and on the second button press, you're going to hold. So you're going to go 1, 2, and hold. You can release it in order to pause it, or double press again in order to keep the cycle going, which is pretty neat. So that's a really useful feature. There's also the suspension option. So suspension, you can also have the vehicle automatically lower or raise the vehicle for you, getting out a little bit easier for sure if you're a little bit shorter. Nothing overly exciting there. Audio settings, which we've already seen. Notifications, nothing crazy there. SiriusXM, block explicit content. Accessibility. Software updates might take like 3 to 4 hours in order to do. Basic system information, and then you've also got some reset options. So if the screen is ever giving you problems, you could reset a ton of different things. Reset all of your performance values, full factory reset. You can clear out all of your personal data. You can restart the radio if the radio is giving you issues too. So you can reset all of these individual options. And if you click through, deletes everything and essentially brings it back to the factory default instead. So it'll get rid of your presets, it'll get rid of your phone connections and things like that. Next up is this little app screen. So apps, all, essentially this like gives you a hot button press to get to certain settings. So let's say if we were to type in yes to the Macintosh system, heated steering wheel. So we have these now as our favorites. So we've got a few different options available. So if you wanted to launch into any one of these or unstart to get rid of it, you could. And then you can do a push in order to get into any of these ones. You can look at recent options, category views, or back to your all view there instead. Ton of different options available here. So like I said, you could do a button press there if you wanted to be able to remove it. You could undo if you've accidentally gotten rid of something that you know you probably shouldn't have, but they're all available back through the all screen. So rather than having to fiddle through all the different sub options, you can set up which one of these show up just under the favorite icon screen there instead. And one other thing to point out about the screen is that if for whatever reason it's ever giving you issues, like it's not working properly, whatever the case may be, you can also easily reset this thing. So with the vehicle turned on in the run position, all you're going to do is just press and hold this button for about 10 to 15 seconds. So let's just hang on here. There you go. You can see the screen's gone blank there, and it's just going to take a second in order for the screen to reset itself and then turn back on. Perfect. There we go. Loading up. And that's honestly the way that you can solve a few different issues. So if your cell phone's not connecting properly to Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, it's giving you issues, whatever the case may be, that's the easiest thing for you to do first, is you're just going to go through, reset, takes a little bit to load back up again, but once it does, you're set to go. Perfect. Let's accept. And here we go. Get started and you're good to go there. Now, certain issues might come up, like you might have issues, like I mentioned, with Android Auto and Waze. You can find that walkthrough video down in the description of this video. And then a few other things that might seem intuitive, but they're not. Like if you push the volume button there in, it turns the screen off. And the screen's not going to turn back on again until you push that button again in order to turn it back on. Then there's another one. Right above the bottom right-hand side here, there's a button just to turn the screen into this calming screen instead. I know that's quite a lot of information, but that's everything that you need to know about the uConnect 5 screen inside of the Jeep Grand Cherokee.